Hi, my lovies. Welcome back to another episode of Low-Key Chaotic. I'm so sorry that I let you guys hanging for like a week. I was so sick. And some of you may wonder, do I not have pre-recorded episodes? I do have pre-recorded episodes, but I was literally too sick to even like check them out, see if I still like them, see if I feel comfortable uploading them, look at a screen for too long. Like, I don't know what hit me, but it hit me good. And in the beginning, before I launched my podcast, I thought that I would be one of those people that records like 4 episodes in one day so I don't have to like stress about like producing one episode a week. Like I thought that kind of like expectation and pressure would make me feel kind of overwhelmed. But since I've been doing this for 3 months now, I've come to a place where I actually enjoy recording an episode a week because it feels like I'm talking about what feels like relevant to me in the now, and I can also like weave in things that are relevant to the world at this very moment. And it's actually funny because I don't know why I thought it was going to be so much pressure and so overwhelming to record an episode once a week. It's actually incredibly fun. I love being connected to you guys in the real time. And like I said, this whole podcast is like so therapeutic for me, and I love it so much, and I love you guys so much. And today, something that I thought would be interesting to talk about would be sex work. This has been on my mind for a long time because obviously you always have the debate of like, is sex work empowering? And I support sex workers, period. I don't think that anybody should be criminalized for surviving. But I just don't support the industry itself because it's not empowering. The industry is not empowering, right? That's what I kind of want to like dissect today and get into today because it's a hot topic of discussion and it's always relevant, especially it's more relevant than ever under capitalism. So let's talk about it. I think I want to break it down in a way that like makes sense, like, and that gives us a bit of an overview why people have this opinion of sex work. Like, why is sex so taboo? What's the different types of sex work? How are they not all the same? What is like, how does choice feminism weave into all of this? And then I'll tell you where I personally land on all of this. So before we even get into OnlyFans or porn, I think it makes sense to ask, why is sex taboo in the first place? Why do we all have such different and such strange relationships to something that everybody is doing? It's similar to like taking a shit. You know how there's some people that can talk about these things like just openly, like what type of like stool they had, and they just so like loudly say to their friends, "Oh, I need to go take a shit. I'm gonna go take a shit." And I'm not one of those, like, I can't, when my people talk to me about that stuff, I'm like, do you mind? Like, can you just say you're going to the toilet? Like, it's similar to that. Like, people have such different relationships to poop. So, and I wonder like where that comes from. Like, where do all of these like taboo things come from in society? Who decided to make them taboo, when and why? So I think like with anything, or like with most things in our world, historically a lot of this comes from religion. Like, sex was framed as something dirty, right? Or something sinful, unless it was within marriage and for the purpose of having kids. And that, I think, created this like baseline idea that sex is only acceptable under very specific circumstances. And then you have like the whole social side. So for centuries, women's sexuality was tied to things like family honor, inheritance, marriage. Like, if a woman had sex outside of those structures, it could literally ruin her fucking reputation or even her family's reputation. So societies built these rules around controlling when and how women were allowed to have sex because it had economic and social consequences for men, like who inherited wealth or titles. I spoke about this in way more detail in my episode called "Is Monogamy a Lie?" So if you're interested in learning about the history about those types of things, go ahead and check out that episode. But anyways, so in like today's time in capitalism, it like added another layer. Like sex is constantly used in advertising, right? It sells everything from perfume to cars. So on one hand, sex is everywhere, but on the other hand, if you try to talk about sex openly in a personal way, it's often still considered inappropriate. And that's the contradiction that I'm kind of referring to. Like, it's not that sex is universally private, it's that sex has been managed and controlled differently depending on who it's benefiting, right? So when companies make money from sexual imagery, it's fine. When men consume porn, it's fine. But when women try to talk about sex on their own terms, it's suddenly taboo. And that's like the thing about sex. It's full of so much contradiction. It's private but public, it's shameful but profitable. And then you've got people saying things like, oh, sex work is the oldest profession, as if that somehow explains or justifies anything. Like, so what do people actually mean when they say that line? I think this phrase only became popular, I don't know, a couple hundred years ago. I don't know. Sex work has like definitely existed long before that. It is one of the oldest professions of this fucking world, for sure. And I think that throughout history, there have always been situations where people, mostly women, exchange sex for money and food and protection and resources. So yeah, it's been around forever, but it just shows how long inequality has existed. Like, I think it's like saying it's one of the oldest professions doesn't make it like empowering. It just is a reflection of how long inequality has been a part of our society. And for the most of history, men had access to wealth and to resources and women didn't. So sex became something women could trade in order to survive. So I would not call that empowerment or liberation. That's just survival. That's literally just survival. And there's like, that hasn't changed. It was survival then, it's survival now. Wait, I want to take a sip of my matcha. And dude, a lot of professions are ancient. Like farming is one of the oldest professions. Soldiers, like nobody calls that empowering. It's just, they just call it necessary. You know what I'm saying? So why do a lot of people romanticize sex work by pointing out how old it is? I don't know. And I think people use it mainly to normalize sex work, right? Like it's always been there, it's part of our history, so we just have to accept it. But honestly, the age of the profession, again, it doesn't prove that it's empowering. It just proves that exploitation and inequality have been around forever. So if sex work shows us how long inequality has existed, the next question is, what actually makes it different from other kinds of work? Because people also love to say that it's because like you're selling your body. But if you think about it, don't we all sell our bodies? Like if you're working in a factory, you're selling your strength and your back. If you're in a call center, you're selling your voice and your patience. If you're an influencer, you're selling your personality and image. And I do too. Like when I sit at my computer for hours doing work, I would never do if I wasn't getting paid. Like, yeah, I'm selling my body in that sense also. So here's why I feel the difference. Here's where I feel the difference. For me, sex is intimate. It's special. Like I've always wished I could be one of those people who can just have fun sleeping around and not overthink it, but I can't. I hate one-night stands. I hate situationships. I hate that feeling of being used for my body. And sex feels so vulnerable for me, too vulnerable for me to detach from it. And sometimes I wonder, how much of that is conditioning? Is it society making me think that way? Is it just who I am? Does it even matter if I can trace the why behind it? Or do I just accept that that's how I feel? I don't know. I will never be able to answer every fucking question that I have. And I have such a tendency to always question the why behind everything. But it's not always helpful because you're not always going to find out the fucking why. Like maybe sometimes just accept the what. But I also get that not everyone feels like me. But anyway, I also understand that not everybody feels like me, right? Some people can detach from sex. They can see it as just another physical act And that's it. That's real. That's authentic for them. And I think that's where the conversation gets so tricky because yeah, sex work is work and it is hard work, but depending on who you are, it can feel very different. For me, it's different because it's intimate, it has human connection, and you're allowing people access to you in a way that most jobs never do. Okay, so let's actually get into the different types of sex work because it's not all the same. People love to lump it all together, but there are levels to it, so many levels to it. I want to say at the end that people actually consider like liberating or an empowering form of sex work is the lighter end of it, which is like the OnlyFans pipeline. So you have people like Ruby Rose who were already low-key famous and they were famous for being sexy and thus they decided to capitalize on that. So they open an OnlyFans account and they show things that you have seen before in music videos on Instagram, but they give you a little more provocative versions of that on their OnlyFans and more of it. So it's not just you don't have to rewatch the video a bunch of times. You can like get many different videos of her dancing and twerking. And I think people also have like parasocial relationships to these creators, right? Like they feel special that they can like privately connect with this creator on this platform, feel like they're chatting with her even though it's like chat bots, and they just feel like they have this relationship to this creator because they're directly tipping her, they're directly paying her, they're talking to somebody in that chat, they're getting like limited edition access to certain content that no one has seen before, and that worked really 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 well for her. I mean, it made her a fucking millionaire and it makes sense. I mean, she's hot as fuck, right? But that's like kind of like that's like the lighter end of the OnlyFans pipeline. You also have like creators that are a little more explicit. Like I think some of you might know the Bob House. They it's like a content house made off of creators, OnlyFans creators, and they all live in a content house together. And there's one of them that's really famous. Her name's Sophie Rain. I think she made like what, $42 million in a year. And that's because she looks like a fucking child, which that's a conversation for a whole nother day. But there are some like really successful OnlyFans creators in this house, but they're all of the same caliber. Like none of them produce like genuine porn. Like it's all like some of them show their whole body naked, some of them only in lingerie. Camilla, the said leader of the house, I know she's not the official leader, but she just is the leader. Like she just has leader energy. She totally leads the Bob House, and she always tapes her private parts like with body tape. Like she never reveals anything, but she still shows herself like in very intimate situations. So it's very interesting how many different levels there is to this like OnlyFans creator shit, how many different boundaries people have. And it's actually kind of cool to see that people can have boundaries and still manage to become rich as fuck off of that shit. So anyways, those are like a few examples of like the types of OnlyFans creators that exist. There's also Ari Kitsia. She's like really famous on TikTok. She's the one that always calls herself like a mattress actress, and she definitely does proper porn. She does like full, I don't know if it's called amateur porn, or is amateur porn just porn that you shoot yourself? Is that what that entails? Because if that's what it is, then I think that's what she would be classified as like an amateur porn star creator. I don't know. So those are like the different levels of OnlyFans creators that, of course, are mainly only so successful because they have a presence on social media already. I think Ari Kitsia is very honest and open on her TikTok about like the downsides of this industry and how like not everybody should get into it. Like just because these creators that are so successful seemingly make it seem like so romantic. Like they romanticize this lifestyle, right? Because they flaunt their wealth on social media. So it might seem to impressionable people that this is what they should do too. But the only way you can really be successful on OnlyFans is if you don't shy away from putting yourself out there on every social media platform and advertising the fucking living shit out of your OnlyFans account. And that is a commitment you have to be ready to make, because it will have eternal implications on your life, and you will never be able to just erase that. You will never be able to just say bye-bye and I'm gonna try to get a normal job now. So that's like the risks Ari highlights a lot in her videos when she talks about what it's like being a mattress actress, which I think is really cool. And then I think other sex work styles that exist outside of OnlyFans is like camming, like live streams where people pay to interact with you in real time. That's like almost, it's just such a different kind of labor, because it's not just physical, it's emotional too. Like you're giving people your attention, you're pretending to connect, playing into like parasocial relationships, right? And then there's like escorting, which is in-person sex work that can look very different depending on the context. Like some people frame it as high class, others just as transactional hookups or even relationships, bro. Like transactional high class escort relationships, which is like what I feel like the majority of what we see when we like watch rich people getting married. I'm such a negative bitch. Whenever like someone rich gets married, I'm always like, that's not real love, but it's cute regardless. Why the fuck not, right? Anyways, there's like, that's also like, I want to say really vulnerable work, because you're not just putting up a camera and filming yourself. You're literally having to give your attention to somebody and like soak up their energy in real time, and like you're providing a service to them that is more emotionally taxing, depending on who you are, than it is to just prop up like a camera. But both have emotionally taxing aspects, I would say, because it's definitely, I would say, emotionally taxing to like film such an intimate side of you and post it online for everybody to like comment on and have opinions on. So all of it has like sides to it that are definitely draining. Like with anything, this is not just about sex work. Every fucking job has sides to it that are draining and taxing. And I think the hardest end of the spectrum, the one that's the most stigmatized, is the street-based sex work. Like I think that's definitely the most dangerous. It's usually tied to poverty, trafficking, coercion, and I don't think you ever hear anybody call that type of sex work empowering. And there's also, of course, strippers, sugar babies, financial doms, like that. These like sugar baby financial dom stuff kind of blur the line between like dating and sex work. It's what I just mentioned, like these transactional fucking relationships, right? People are like paid for their companionship, whether it's like made super obvious or not. Like I don't think you have to really say it out loud sometimes. Sometimes two people just know the fucking situation and the deal without having to fucking speak on it. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I think it's important to break it down, because when people say sex work is empowering, which kind are we talking about, right? Because I think most people are referring to the OnlyFans kind, and not the street work, the street sex work. Because the reality is, the further down like the spectrum that we go, the less anyone describes it as empowering, and that's just a fact. And in the moment, sex work can look empowering. Like, for example, what I said about Sophie Rain. She made $42 million in a year. You'd think, hello, pop off, right? She set her price. People paid that fucking price. She decided what she's comfortable with showing online. She makes money off men instead of like the other way around. And I get why that can feel like you're flipping the script. And honestly, of course, women do sell. Like when we put ourselves on display, when men are paying to see us, in that moment, we do have the power, 100%. But they're only our little bitches until they come, because we're the ones in control and they're the ones begging for it and swiping the cards and sending the tips. But the catch is that as soon as that moment is over, as soon as they have gotten what they wanted, as soon as they've had an orgasm, everything resets. Like, the dynamic goes back to what it's always been. Men still hold the money, the platforms still take their cut, and society still tells women their value is in how they look and how much they can turn men on. And that is just what it is. So yeah, this like micro level power exists. I'm not denying that. But on like a bigger scale, nothing has changed. It's still the same system. So if you take OnlyFans, the women who can like frame their content as empowerment are usually conventionally attractive, middle class, white women. They're already the like Instagram pretty girls with a following. They have the good cameras, the makeup skills, sometimes even the management. So when they say, I'm empowered, I'm choosing this, of course it lands differently because they have the privilege to market it as a brand. But that's not the reality for the majority of sex workers. Most sex workers in this world are not influencers or curated content creators. They're doing it because they want to survive. And there's like, I looked up some studies. There's this one study that says that 73% of women said that they entered the sex trade to get drugs. 35% just to cover basic needs like food or housing. So that is not anywhere near being empowering. That is just wanting to fucking survive. And in Germany, which has legalized prostitution, there are like an estimated 400,000 sex workers, where research suggests that up to 90% are trafficking victims. Most of them like from foreign countries within poorer regions in Europe. So, and let's not forget strippers. The global strip club industry is apparently worth around like $75 billion. And in the USA, there are hundreds of thousands of women working in these clubs. I think strip clubs, I don't know how it is in like most countries. I definitely just know about strip clubbing culture from like the American perspective. I did not grow up hearing about it being, I know it's a thing in Germany, but I definitely know it's a bigger thing in America. I mean, everything is a bigger thing in America because they're just like, they're the people that fucking invented hyper-capitalism, consumerism, whatever. I don't even, is that true? Did America invent capitalism? Am I fucking talking out of my ass right now? Let's Google this. Oh, no, they didn't. It emerged in England. So why the fuck are Americans so fucking good at it? Okay, interesting. Anyways, strip club culture, yeah, I've never heard about it being as big as like anywhere but in the States, but it might be huge everywhere, and it's just, I'm just like fucking brainwashed from all the movies that I watch. So anyways, and like as much as like movies romanticize the dancer strip club world, like there's literally one that came out recently that won a fucking Oscar, Hello and Nora. It's not that pretty of a reality after all. And there's some stats to back that up also. In Baltimore, for example, 36% of dancers reported intimate partner violence, 16% said clients assaulted them, and nearly 90% said they'd been sexually abused as children. And I think this is where choice feminism comes in, right? It's this belief that if a woman chooses something, that automatically makes it feminist. But our choices never exist in vacuums. If most women are entering sex work because of poverty, coercion, and trauma, that is not empowering. And the truth is, privilege allows a small group of women to frame sex work as empowerment, while millions of others are in dangerous, exploitative situations with no safety net. And when the privileged women's version gets all the attention, it ends up shaping the whole narrative. It normalizes the idea that empowerment equals being sexual for men. And that affects every woman on this fucking planet Earth, even the ones who never made that choice. And honestly, that's why I think about things like universal basic income. Like, if everyone had financial stability, if rent and food were covered, then we'd actually see who would want to do sex work and who's only there because they don't have another choice. And I think that's the key difference, because survival choices aren't empowerment. I'm sorry I keep repeating that sentence, but I think that is so important to understand and realize. Just because somebody makes a choice does not mean it's an empowering choice, period. So for a lot of women, it's survival, and even for the ones who really do feel empowered by it, that doesn't erase the fact that the system as a whole is built on inequality and exploitation. And where it gets messy is, even knowing all of this, I still watch porn sometimes. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't. I do. And that contradiction is uncomfortable, but it's real. It's like, I don't shop fast fashion because I think sweatshops are empowering. I shop it because it's cheap and accessible. I don't listen to rap with misogynistic lyrics because I think degrading women is empowering. I listen because the music hits. Like, everybody consumes things that are harmful or exploitative sometimes. A lot of people more often than they should. A lot of people are really good at being disciplined and like having their actions match up with their values. But it's also really human for it to all be a fucking mess sometimes, all right? And that's like the paradox. I don't believe sex work as an industry is empowering, but I still consume the content, which, if anything, just proves how deep this shit runs. Like, porn is one click away, it's normalized, it's everywhere, you almost can't avoid it. So I sit in this contradiction a lot, and I think it's important to admit that, because pretending I'm above it doesn't help. Like, if anything, being honest about it shows how like tangled we are all in this system, whether we want to be or not. And it makes me wonder if women were like the only consumers, would the content look the same? Would it even exist in the same way? Probably not. Because right now, even when women are the ones posting, the performance is for men. And that's where I struggle with this whole owning your sexuality argument, because are you really owning it, or are you just performing it in a way that's been shaped by what men want to see? There's a difference between enjoying your sexuality for yourself versus packaging it for consumption. And also, do any of us even know what enjoying your sexuality for yourself even is? Is that like, I don't know. This is like, I think what my episode, Do Straight Women Know What Good Sex is about, because I am convinced of the fact that the majority of straight women in this world do not know what good sex is. Because everything in sex, in straight people's sex, is just about women performing for men and to make him feel good. I mean, how many men do we know that pretend like foreplay doesn't exist outside of them getting their dick sucked? How many men do we know that after they come, they put on their clothes to initiate that the night is over and you need to leave or he's gonna leave? How many men do we know that just stick their dick inside of you and think that that's all it is? You know what I'm saying? And how many women do we know that completely dissociate, that fake an orgasm? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's normal? It's crazy. Like, that's actually really sad. Sex is something, it's so human. Everybody, or not everyone has sex. Majority of this world of people have sex, right? People fuck. So why the fuck is it not normal to have equally, like, meeting each other's needs type of sex? It's just, that's so sad. It is so sad that the majority of people will never know what it means to have good sex. The fuck? And also, the long-term consequences of porn, sorry, I don't want to like diverge the conversation. Let's get back to it. The long-term consequences of porn, like once something is on the internet, it's there forever. Leaks happen, screenshots happen, content gets re-uploaded without consent. You can never fully control where it goes, and that kind of permanence can follow you into future jobs and relationships, even your own self-image. Like there's the stigma. People love to say sex work is work, it's normal, but society hasn't ever caught up to that. Like the judgment is super real. Women who leave the industry very often struggle to re-enter regular jobs because employers Google you, people gossip, partners get insecure. That stigma doesn't disappear just because OnlyFans is mainstream or whatever. Like, and there's this emotional side too. Like a lot of sex work isn't just physical, it's emotional labor. And especially things like camming or stripping, you're not just selling your body, you're selling attention, intimacy, care. You're making people feel desired and listened to and connected. And that's draining as hell. And a lot of women talk about how they dissociate from their bodies just to get through it. And plus, let's not forget that like platforms, they hold the real power. OnlyFans literally can ban you tomorrow. Instagram can shadow ban you. Payment processors can block you. So even the women who do feel empowered by the money are still one click away from losing their entire income. So that's not true independence. And I think it's important to say this too. Sex work isn't a monolith. It's not one single experience. There are women who genuinely do feel empowered by it, 100%. They enjoy the attention, they like performing, they like money, and for them it's a positive choice, and that's valid. I'm not there to deny someone's personal feelings or say they're wrong about their own life, but what I think we have to separate is individual empowerment versus systemic empowerment. A woman can feel empowered in her own experience, while the system itself still functions in a way that exploits women as a whole. So both can be true at once. Individuals can feel strong and in control, while the bigger picture is still rooted in inequality, exploitation, and the male gaze. And I think the conversation gets messy when we conflate those two things. And you know what? Men love it when women frame their own exploitation as empowerment, because if we're calling it empowerment, then they don't have to feel guilty about consuming it. It's a win-win for them. They get their porn, their OnlyFans subscription, their strip clubs, and on top of that, they get to pat themselves on the back of being supportive of women's choices. And it makes me wonder, if men didn't benefit from this narrative, would they be hyping it up as empowerment? Probably not. If sex work was something that gave women power but took something away from men, I doubt we'd see the same cheerleading from them. So, to me, when men loudly support sex work as empowering, it doesn't always feel like solidarity. It just feels convenient. Because at the end of the day, they're still the main consumers and they're still getting exactly what they fucking want. And this is where the feminist debate kicks in, I would say. You've probably, where do we go from here? I think like you have like the one side of feminism that I keep referring to. They say things like sex work is work, it deserves rights and protection and respect. And the other side says things like it's exploitation, it can never be empowering because it exists inside patriarchy and capitalism, which is the side I'm kind of arguing at the moment. And even though I'm leaning more towards that last side that I mentioned, I do feel torn between the two because both have a point. Yes, it's work, it's hard work, it takes effort, time, labor, and it absolutely deserves to be protected like any other form of labor, but nobody should be criminalized for surviving, full stop, like no one. But on the other hand, calling it empowering just doesn't sit right with me, because I don't think survival equals empowerment. And I don't think packaging yourself for male consumption, even if you're making money off of them, means that the system has changed. I think it just means we found a way to navigate it a little bit. So when people ask me where I stand, I have to admit that I'm in the middle. I don't believe in shaming women who do sex work. I support decriminalization, but I also don't believe that the industry itself is liberating. It's not. It's still shaped by patriarchy. It's still shaped by capitalism, and it's still stacked against women in the bigger picture. So let's I mean, we can talk about some of the laws because people always ask if you're critical of the industry, does that mean you don't think it should be legal? And of course not. Like, legality and protection are crucial as fuck. Like, where I'm from, for example, Germany, sex work is legal and regulated. So on paper, that sounds like progress, like workers, they can register, get health checks, pay taxes, and have rights. But in practice, a lot of women don't register because of the stigma. So that means they're still vulnerable. And it creates this two-tier system. Like, you have privileged women who can comply and marginalized women who get pushed underground anyway. And then you have places like New Zealand, which went a different route. They did the full decriminalization. So that means no criminal penalties for selling sex, buying sex, or organizing it. It's treated like any other form of labor without forcing people into like government registries or constant surveillance. And most sex worker rights groups say that this model is the one that actually centers safety and autonomy. And I think under criminalization, the issue is that sex workers often can't report crimes. So if someone assaults them, robs them, or threatens them, going to the police can put them at risk of arrest. And decriminalization stops that from happening. So it allows them to report violence without fearing punishment. And that alone can be the difference between life and death for a lot of women. So that's really fucking important. So for me, that's kind of the bottom line. The work doesn't like become magically fair or safe under decriminalization, but it at least stops the law from adding another layer of danger. And that's the least we should want, for women to not be punished by the system on top of everything else. And even beyond the financial side, there are so many costs that don't get talked about. Emotional labor, a lot of sex work isn't just about sex, like I said. It's about pretending like you like someone, making them feel special, giving them intimacy. It's so much draining stuff that blurs the lines between acting and real connection. And then you have safety, of course. Like, they face so much levels of harassment and stalking and doxing and blackmail, especially online. And I don't know, it's just shit that follows you around for your entire life. You have the mental health side, like women be dissociating like crazy. I mean, like they struggle with intimacy in their personal relationships. Fight like stability, like you don't really ever have stability. Platforms, like I said, can ban you overnight. So these are the things that I feel like get left out when people call it just work. Like, yeah, it's just work, but it's work with risks and consequences most other jobs do not carry. I think I want to finish this episode by saying that I support sex workers fully. Nobody should be criminalized, stigmatized, or left unsafe because of the work they do. Legal protection, decriminalization, the right to report crimes, access to healthcare, all of that should be non-negotiable. But at the same time, I don't support the sex industry as some kind of feminist empowerment movement. It's not liberation, it's survival. It's capitalism doing what capitalism always does best, taking something deeply human and turning it into another way to profit off of women's bodies. And I think that's the distinction we have to hold on to. You can support sex workers while still criticizing the system that puts them in those positions. You can defend their right to safety without romanticizing an industry that exists mostly because of economic desperation and male demand. And at the end of the day, true empowerment will not come from selling sex under patriarchy. It'll come from building a world where women have genuine choices, where survival doesn't depend on sexual labor, where financial stability exists outside of men's wallets, and where intimacy isn't always for sale. Until then, I think the least we can do is stop pretending the industry itself is empowering and instead focus on protecting the people who are actually doing the work. And with that, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you guys next week. You know where to find me, Low Key Chaotic Podcast, everywhere, or follow my personal channel, Zoe.Lilu. Love you guys. Bye bye.